So function in Python is not so different from other languages. It is same as other programming language, but the syntax is different. And also we will see, why. First of all, we will try to understand what is a function is all about, and why do we need to use a function, and what are the types of functions. In today's session, we'll take a look at it. Followed by this, we'll take a look at the function signatures, right? So what are positional arguments, what are default argument and keyword arguments, and why do we have to use return statement, and with return statement, what we can do, without that what we can do, right? And also we can take a look at what is the stubs function, and also we will see the recursive function, anonymous functions, and also we will see the driver function, right? So how to use a main function, and map and filter, the built-in functions. These are the built-in functions, map and filter, and we will see the scope of the variables also. Okay, local, enclosing, global, and built-in. The scope of the variables. First of all, what is a function? Why do we have to use a function? A function, the first and foremost reason to use a function is for reusability purpose. Once you create a function, that can be invoked as many times as you want it across your project or across your modules. Okay. Simple example, suppose you want to compute the simple interest. So what you can do is you store the logic for the simple interest computation in a function. This function can be called by all the users, or all the users, or including the end users, right? So those want to compute the simple interest or rate of interest, everything, right? So I'm sure you guys would have familiar with the Bank Bazaar, right? So Bank Bazaar, if you go and check, if you, for example, you wanted to you want to go for a personal loan, and there they'll give you option. So what is the duration, and what is the amount, and what is the interest rate, right? Based on which it will calculate and tell you the EMI, right? So the calculation of the EMI is done behind the scene, right? So that is nothing but a function, right? Behind the scene, they would have written a function or a method. So when you hit calculate button, it will invoke the function, right, by passing these three field values, and then it will give you the EMI per month based on the amount, based on the loan amount which you typed it, right? It will display that. So the whole idea of using a function is reusability. Okay, so once you define a function, it can be used over and over and over again, right? You can invoke the same function many times in your program or in your applications. And first of all, what is a function? It is a block of code. As I told you, for example, to compute a simple interest, you may need 2 or 3 lines of code, right? So you combine all these set of instructions into a single block, right? So that is kind of your functions, right? It is a block of code using which you want to carry out a specific or common task repeatedly, iteratively. If you want to perform it, you want to invoke the common function, like compute the EMI for the given loan amount, duration, and interest rate. What is the EMI per month, right? So the computing the EMI, that is done by the function, right? You can invoke by clicking the button compute, or calculate or something like that, right? So when you click that button, this common functionality will be performed repeatedly. And a function may contain 0 or more than 1 arguments. You can pass an argument, not necessarily you don't have to pass argument also, but in reality, when it comes to business, right, we will be using arguments. When you call a function, we will be passing the values, and while you define a function also, you will be defining the arguments. And why to use functions? Increases readability, modularity. For example, as I explained in the last session, I wanted to compute the gross salary and I want to compute the net salary, right? Or earnings deductions. What is a person's earn? For earnings, a separate function use it, and for deductions use separate function. function. Why should I use two different functions? Because in future, if there is any policy change within your organization, okay, in that case, all you have to do is you have to go to the specific module or specific function, go and make a changes there itself. You don't have to make the changes to the entire code, right? So for that reason, you need to have modularity, and it is, if you implement, if you follow modularity in your code, it will increases the readability, and you will get to know, right, and which module, which logic has been implemented, and it will eliminate redundancy. Instead of typing the instead of copy pasting the formula for simple interest in multiple places for each and every customer repeatedly, right? So you can have only one bunch of code, which is nothing but your function, right? So you can just call the function, it will tell you what is the monthly EMI. You don't have to copy paste for each and every user, okay? You don't have to write multiple lines of code by redundantly, okay? And also it reduces coupling, okay? So you need to make sure it's a best practice, right? Try to have lesser coupling, right? So don't have too much of coupling. That means the dependency between one function to another function, don't have it, because you will end up with making changes to other function also at times, right? What are the types of functions that are available in Python? Like other languages, built-in functions like performing aggregations operations like minimum, maximum, min function, max function, print function. These are the functions are already available as part of Python. You don't have to write any specific function. Supposing you want to view the content of a function, right? You can use help function. Help within the parentheses specify min function or max function. It will show you the function details about the function, okay? And also we have user defined function. Apart from built-in functions, we have user defined functions. This is the one written by users like us, right? To implement a specific functionality, we create functions. And apart from this, we have something else called anonymous function. What are anonymous function? So we have something called lambda function that is specific to Python. And in Java 8 also I heard a lambda is available, okay? And when you use lambda function, you don't have to define a function name, right? You can use the lambda function or you can attach the lambda function at a specific field level, okay? You don't have to define the function name here, okay? That is the reason why it is called as anonymous function. So how do I define a user defined function? We know what are the user defined functions, built-in functions, right? I'll just show you the built-in functions once again. Let me start the Jupyter notebook now. Let's wait for some time because the Python kernel has to needs to get started. So it is currently blank, it's being started. Let's wait for a few minutes. Yeah, it started, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this one. By default, the Python uses Jupyter Notebook uses Microsoft's Internet Explorer. But I'm pretty much comfortable with Google Chrome because sometimes it crashes. Even the new version of the Internet Explorer crashes. I just copied the entire line here, okay? So here to till this end, because it has a token. Sometimes if you just copy paste localhost :888, right, it will ask for the token. So to avoid that, you select the entire thing, copy and paste it in Chrome. I'm going to open a new editor, okay, the Jupyter Notebook. So here I will be writing the function. Let me just, sometimes, right, it will not do anything. We have to wait. So you need to make sure that you're not going to click this one cross, okay? Instead you need to click the hyphen, okay, minimize this one, don't close it. If you close it, it will not work. Your kernel should run when you work on the Jupyter notebook, when you start do coding, right? So you have to use this one. It's not starting. 1 second. Token 0.22 minutes. Let me do one. 1 second. Let me copy this here. Let me do it. Why it takes longer time? Yeah, it is loading. Let's wait for a minute. Earlier it was not at all showing, I guess, right? Sometimes it will take some time to load this one. It depends on the number of files that you used it, okay? So, okay, let's, I'll define a simple list. You know what is a list, right? You can use a square bracket to define a list. Here what I'm going to do is I'm going to use L dot sum function. See, look here there is no sum function is available. You cannot use a sum here, and instead you press tab here, okay, L dot and the list name are len function. Look here, if you press tab, what all functions that you can use it, right? So you can see it here. You can use insert, you can use index, and you can use count. So len is also a function. Len is not available. Yeah, count function instead of len. You can use count. Okay, it takes exactly one argument, 0 given. Okay, let me do one thing. 0, right? So here it says nothing. 1 second. Yeah, so what you do is you can use sorted of L, right? So you can use that one. So there is a built-in function called sorted. Sorted of L will give you 2, 4, 6, 8. For example, I am going to use another 1 here. So 1 supposed to get displayed first and in the ascending order. So I used a built-in function called sorted, using which you can find out. For example, can I use L, sum of L, right? So min of L, you can use these functions. You don't have to install any package, or you don't have to import any package. So minimum is 1, and max function, here's something called max function, max of L, 8. So then why did I type this on L dot? If you want to see any functions that are related to list, you can see it here. So if you wanted to remove an element from a list, you can use remove function, or you can use pop function, or insert a specific value in a specific place of a list. You can use insert, and you can use extend also. Extend also is similar to insert. And count gives us what? Count, did we try count here? Yeah, count we did not try, right? So count was asking some argument. So count is not working yet. So you can probably check what is count. For that, what we will do is count, right? If you don't know the syntax, keep the cursor inside the parenthesis, the open and closed parenthesis, right? In between you keep the cursor, press tab. You press tab and you can see the this thing, value comma L dot count, right? So L dot count is, let's say 2 comma this one. If I give if we give like this, value comma, I don't know. So even I did not try the count with this. The best thing is, right, you can use len function. Yeah, len is available, len of L. Len will give you how many number of elements are there in the list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this is the one. So the max, min, sum, and len, all these functions are built in, right? It comes with Python. You don't have to write a program to take each and every value and compute it. You can also do it. You can use a for loop, for I in L, and what you do is you can use something like, right, sum is equivalent to sum plus is equivalent to, or sum 1, because sum maybe is a reserved word. So someone plus equal to I. If I give like this, print someone is not defined. Okay, here I did not define it, right? So you need to someone is equivalent to 0 initially. Look here. So instead of this, if I select this one and if I do this one, 21. So this, you can write a for loop to perform the sum. Instead, there is a ready-made built-in function, sum is available. Simply pass the list name inside this sum, right? Parenthesis. That's it. It will count this one. So these are the built-in functions. And if you don't want to use any built-in function, or if you have some other requirement like, okay, take the values of each and every element from this list and multiply that with 10, and then you sum all the values, right? Then your sum will not be the pre-built or built-in function is not helpful, because you need to implement a sum or some different functionality. In that case, you can use for loop, but when you use a for loop, it computes this one. But the problem is, if you cannot use this, somewhere down the line. Okay, let's say here now we are in 16th line, right? Let's say in the 1600th line, I want to perform the same sum. Then again I have to copy and paste it there, right? I have to copy paste this. For example. Right, so for that, if I define a function, if I put it everything in a function def sum1, right? So let's say x here, if I give or n, if I give n, and then if I do this one, right? So sum1 of 0, and I'll have to give tab everything, right? So here return someone. Right, there is someone is the variable here. You can return more than one variable also. Yeah, you can say you need to give a return outside. Okay, return I did not specify it correctly. Right, so here I'm going to pass. I'm going to invoke a function. So this is my function name. What is my function name here? In this case, sum1. So what is n? Any value. Which value you want to? Supposing I want to give 2, 3, 4, right? 6. I just pass the list here. Look here, it gives me the 20, 2, 3, 4, 6, right? So no, it calls this one only, right? 10, it should not be 21, right? So there's something wrong here. Someone of n, right? So someone of 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay, here I have to use double star, yeah, variable number of arguments. Okay, this you can ignore it. So still it gives us this one. Let me do one thing, return someone, right? Okay, it gets confused with this one. Let's do one thing, sum2 here. I'm going to give sum2. Still it gets confused. Sum1. Okay, we already use this function, right? So we did not use this function. I use this variable sum1. So what I will do is I'm going to say sum3. Still it shows 2. Yeah, it takes 2 here, and then sum2 it puts 0. And the first value in the list is, right, okay, here I have to use the items, L dot items, okay, L dot items, or let's say simply we'll put 2, 3, 4, 6 here. Okay, simply we can do this way also. I'm not going to pass anything here. Simply here I do everything, and then I'm going to return it. 15. Yeah, it gives the correct thing, right? So here I'm using the list directly here, and it gives me the function. This is my function. This is my function. Instead of using some function, I created a user-defined function. How do I define a user-defined function? First of all, so def, we have to use the reserved word def here, def. This is the reserved word. You have to specify def here to create your own function, so that when you execute this entire cell by clicking run, the interpreter, when it sees this one, oh, this is this is nothing but a user-defined function. Okay, followed by the def, you need to specify the function name, and followed by the function name, you need to specify the parenthesis. You can specify the argument values here. Okay, for arguments, let's use another simple function. Okay, square me. For example, x comma y, right? Or x, only one variable I am going to use it. Return, my return statement will have x into x, and here itself, right? So now I defined a function, simple function. This is my, I can give any name here. Okay? But again, there are some naming convention, as I discussed about the rules for defining the variables, right? The same thing is applicable here. You are not supposed to use the keyword like def here. Your function name should not be a deserved word, right? So it's something, right? You need to give the valid name. Okay, but you can give your own name, and inside the parenthesis you can specify the argument, return x into x. So now I defined a function. I want to call a function. How do I call a function? Square me. So here, let's say if I give 2, this 2 will get assigned to the variable x, and this value 2 will get passed here. So 2 into 2, the return statement directly, right? What is this x into x? This x into x is nothing but an expression. In this case, the return statement, you can return an expression also. Okay, you can return an expression, and also what you can do is you can assign this function to a variable. Okay, square, something like square is equivalent to square me, right? So you can directly you can specify. For example, here I am going to give 3, and the value of 3 will be passed here. So this function on the right side of this equal sign will get executed, and the output of this function will get stored to a variable called square. So what value will get stored in square? So 3 will get passed here. So 3 into 3 is 9, right? So it will return 9 here. So here 9, right? So here I can assign a function to a variable. Or what you can do is, like I said earlier in the earlier session, what you can do is you can just remove the parenthesis, and you just give the user defined function on the right side of this equal sign, on the left side whatever name that. See, in my case I want square, but if I give like this, it just gives me the the address of this one. Okay, so if you don't give the, if you give, yeah.
Sorry, so can we not directly assign the value to x directly, instead of marking square equal to square underscore me of in given 3? Can we not directly define x equal to 3? So directly, can we not give the value of x?
Yeah, we can give like this. See, the whole idea is, see, I don't want to give you the complex example of a function. Okay, for example, you can say x equivalent to, right? So 3 into 3 you can specify. Is that what you are saying? 9.
Like that. Yes. Sir.
You can give like this, but you are
def is defined square underscore me. You have created a new. You have defined a new one.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. So and you have declared x there. Okay, sir. So can we not directly give a value for x so that?
Okay. You are talking about this one, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can give that one also. I will explain that one. This, you can assign the value directly here also. Okay, so that you can that is called default parameter. You can specify the default values to the parameter. Okay.
So if we give so means we cannot give another value for that parameter. That is, we are hardcore that.
Yes, that is not a good practice.
That
Arun.
is not good practice, Arun.
Yeah, but it is possible. But in the case of online test, right, they will ask all the possible combination of things. Like you are asking about this one, right? Yeah, default parameters. So, but in the interview,
So here, default is okay, sir. What I'm asking, when we give the value for x in the below square underscore me, you have given within the bracket you have given.
x, yeah.
Ah,
Oh, instead of x, can't I give 3?
correct. So can we not directly give the value of x? X is equal to so. Can we do like that? Okay, I'm asking.
Tell me one thing. So, what value can I type it here? You tell me what value.
So for example, if
3.
x needs to be given as 4.
4, okay.
Can we not give x is equal to directly 4, so that comes into that.
Oh, okay. X equal to 4. Is this what you're saying?
Correct, something like, because I am just comparing this with the Excel which I already know.
Oh, okay.
What we do,
See.
we create one Excel. This particular cell equals to this particular cell. For example, D1 cell I'm taking equals to, and I'm directly putting this equals to whatever happens to be in the D5. So whatever I do there, it will directly reflect here. So
Okay, let's say you have a cell C and cell D, and in the cell D, what you are doing is you are copying your cell D in that cell, right? You are specifying C into C cell into 4, right? Is that what you are doing, right?
correct, sir. Something whenever I do for that, it automatically captures the value with whatever I've given.
Yeah. So see here, the whole idea of this one, right? Here we are not supposed to. First of all, we are not supposed to hard code the values. It is a bad practice. You are not supposed to hard code the values in a function,
Okay. So
right?
you directly declared that.
Yeah.
X.
So what we do is, because you are giving x can be any value. We can pass 2, 3, 10 or 1000 or 1 billion, whatever value you want it, we can pass it here. Right? Okay. So at this moment, don't compare Excel with this one. Okay. Once I explain all the logic, right, and then you apply with Excel, you will be able to understand. Okay.
Done.
See, this is one way of doing it, right? So I can I can assign the value directly here. Okay. And if I simply call square me, for example, if I give 4 here, right? So what will happen? What has happened here? Okay. Let's go step by step. Okay. See here, this is called default parameter, okay, because I assign the value here itself in the function definition itself, x equal to 3, and return. So the value of x is 3 now. So the 3 will get assigned to the variable x. So 3 into 3 is 9, okay. If I call the function without passing any argument to it, what will happen is it return 9. So 3 into 3 is 9. You got it? Are you able to understand as of this? It's a very simple one. But this is not the good practice. You are not supposed to use the default parameters. But there are cases, yes, we can use default parameter. When we can use default parameter? Can someone tell me? Deepak, you are not talking. Deepak, are you there? Hello. Supposing you have something like, you want to hard code some values. Right, you want to flag something,
already.
Huh?
Kind of it is already fixed. You mean to say?
Exactly, some default or some you want to flag something, right? Customer is active customer or inactive customer, something, right? So you want to say active. A means active, okay, and that variable will be default. A will have let's you have something like a flag, right? So flag equal to A. So you can pass comma flag you can give, and equivalent to A you can give, hard code it here, because we know very well, we know the logic, but still this is not a good practice. Correct? Yeah, this is not a good practice. When you call the function only, you're supposed to do it, okay, but rarely we do it hard code it like
this. Hardcore, we no need to go for function, right?
Yeah, correct. So we don't have to go for
why the function comes into the picture?
Reusability.
Because of the reusability, we can give any parameter. In that case, function comes into the picture.
Correct.
Otherwise, no need.
Yeah. The reason why we are, I demonstrated here is there is something called, default parameter. You can assign the value by default values also you can assign to variable. Okay, and for example here, if I give 4, what happens? This one gets copied. It overrides the default value. It overrides the default value, isn't it? So though I assigned x equal to 3 explicitly here, when I pass 4 here, what will happen is 4 into 4 is 16. Okay? So we have something called partial function. Okay, when I explain you will be able to understand. Okay, you don't have to pass all the arguments to variable also. Okay, sorry, function. Okay, let's say in this case we have only one variable x. Okay, let's go step by step. So you can assign the value explicitly to a variable, right, or parameter. It's also called as argument or parameter in the function definition itself. Okay, the other option is so you cannot, in this case I did not assign any default values to the variable. Simply supposing you can if you want to compute 2 or 21, right, whatever you wanted, this 21, right, in this calling function, this is the actual value, this is the original parameter. Okay, or this is the positional parameter. So this one will get assigned to this one, and 21 into 21, 441. So in general, right, your function should be a generalized one. Okay, it should not be like hard coded one. So even if you hard code it, right, there are some cases you can use it something like this. If there is no value, we have something called partial function. We'll explain you at that time. You will be able to understand when we can do it. Supposing if I don't pass any value, then the default value will get assigned. Okay, so something like that. Okay, or you can achieve that using if condition inside your the function definition itself. But usually we don't assign the value explicitly. We don't. This is called hard coding. You are not supposed to do hard coding, but you should be knowing the output of this one. The reason is we don't know, right? So irrespective of the level, nowadays online test is there to understand your knowledge in Python, right? They will give you one of the questions like this. If I give like this, what is the output? So up to this people will understand, but if I pass a different value, so they'll get stuck here. Is this 16 or is this 9? The other option is 9, the other option is 16, and something will be there. So you will obviously tend to think, most of them tend to think, right, 9, but actually 16, because we are passing the value 4 here, though the default parameters takes the value 3 by default, right? The calling function, whatever the value you are passing it, that one will override the default value of your function definition. Okay, fine. So this you should be knowing it. In the interest of interview or that purpose, you should be knowing it, but it is not a good practice hard coding this. Okay, and this is the generalized one, right? Function I defined it. So like I showed you here, the built-in function, it is readily available, but the built-in functions are not always helpful. Sometimes we need to implement our custom logic like this. For example, right, I won't take each and every function and then each and every element from the list 2, 3, 4, 6, and then I multiply this by 2, and then I want to take a sum of this one. For example, I want to do something like right, so prod 2 is prod 2 equivalent to 10, right? So not this one, or let's I into 10, and then if I want to add some this one, right? So return prod 2. I want to return prod 2, something like this. $66. So what happens here, right? 60. Take each and every value. 20. It's not giving the correct thing, right? So yeah, I into 10 2. And yeah, here's something wrong here, right? So this is, will this work? Right. 66 plus 44, 100, the remaining thing 30 plus 20, 50, right? So this is specific functionality. I don't want to do a sum directly. I don't want to add 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6. Before adding that, I wanted to take each and every element and then I multiply each and every element by 10, and then I need to do some I need to compute the total of this one. Okay, so in that case your functionality is different, right? So to implement this logic, you need to write your own function, right? So this is called your user defined function. For that, right, I started with this example. Ideally I should have started a simple example like this. Okay, so square me x, return x into x, right, this one, and default parameter is this one. And now you understood how to define a function. Okay, and next what we will do is, this is the definition of this is how we need to define. So diff and function name, in our case square underscore me, parameter list, and then colon, we need to specify colon. This is very important compared to other language, right? This is different in Python. Most of the language they will be using curly braces. They use curly braces to showcase where the function the block of the code starts, where it ends. See, in other languages, instead of colon, right, they use curly braces, and then they will put the curly braces here. That means, right, to execute all these statements as part of this function. Supposing you might be using if else inside the function also, right? You might be using if else, nested if else, loop, for loop, nested for loop also you'll be using it, right? In that case, which code block belongs to which one? So whether this one belong to if, or whether these set of statements belong to else, you should be knowing it. For that, they will be using this one. But in Python, what they do is don't use curly braces. Okay, instead use colon, and in the next line of the function definition, right, give the tab, or you can give you need to press space bar 4 times. Okay. Simply tab, right, in your keyboard, press tab once. That is called indentation. For each and every block of in your block of code, for each and every statement, you need to give tab, right? That's all. And then return expression. You can either return an expression like x into x. This is an expression, right? Because you are performing some kind of operation here. So here you are multiplying the values, or you can use arithmetic operator. So this is an expression. Okay, or you can return a variable instead of doing this, like I showed you in the sum3 function. Sum3 function, I return sum2. You can return a variable. You can return an expression, or you can return a variable, single variable. You can return a multiple variable also. So in the RDBMS, right, so a function will return only one value, but here it is, you can return multiple variables also, and also you can return none. None is also something like this. Okay, let's say if you don't specify anything here, expression, you're not specifying x into x, or you're not specifying a variable also, like sum2, right, sum2 or sum3. So what will happen is, this function will not return any value. It will return NONE. Okay, NONE. For example, I just go back here. Let's take this one, sum3, right? On the left side, I'm going to say N1 is equivalent to this one. Print N1. So what value will get it? What value gets stored in N1? This value, right? So when you specify sum3 function on the right side of the equal sign, this function will get executed. Inside the function, we hard coded the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then what happened? It does all the computation and it returns a variable, right? So sum2, because the sum2 is the one holding the total values, right? This one of the multiplied each and every value, right? So that is the one you will be getting it. But if you store this one to a variable called N1, N1 will be holding the value 150. Supposing I remove this one, or I put hash here. What is hash? Hash is a comment. So anything after hash will be ignored by the If I execute this one, see here it returns none here. Since you did not specify anything, it will return none. And also we have something called stubs function. In the interview they will be asking you, def, hello. I am going to say hello, and here I am going to say pass. This is called as a placeholder function. Here, this is called your stubs function. You should be familiar with these jargons also, okay? These terms also, so that you should not panic, at the time of interview. Stubs function. So let's say you are writing multiple lines of the code, or you are writing multiple nested functions also. Sometimes what will happen is you will not be knowing a logic for a specific function, but I need to calculate the net price and not net price, sorry, the net profit. I want to compute it, but I don't know what parameters that I need to use it in order to compute that, right? So for that, simply you put pass. That means this function will not get executed, but it will be there, okay? And end of the day, right, this is kind of a none. It's a none, right? So it is not going to, it is going to return none only. It is not going to do anything, okay? This is called, because this is kind of base placeholder. Probably later point in time you can implement your logic here, okay? Once you are very clear about the requirement from the customer, you can implement it later point in time. So then don't ask me, then why should I define? Because in real time scenario, you will be using multiple functions, okay? Nested functions, a function inside a function inside a function. So in that case, right, you have outer function, inner function. The inner function, inside the inner function, you will be having one more inner function, okay? But that inner function, you don't know what logic to be implemented. Probably after speaking to the customer, we will implement logic. So what you do is just above that, you have another inner function. There you can implement all the logic. Right? So that in that case, this is called your stubs function, okay? And if you simply call hello function, let's see what happens. It is not going to return anything, okay? See, it is not. If I give print, none, it returns none. Yeah, as I told you, it returns none. So when you will get none, the output, if you don't return any value, it will be none. Or you can return space, you can type none also here, okay? But usually we don't return none. But let's say if you don't return any expression or any variable, by default it will, let's say mistakenly you did not you, for testing purpose, you just commented it, or you forgot to uncomment this one. What will happen is this is not going to return any value, none, okay? So then what you do is just uncomment it, 150. And for example, okay, we started with this simple function, reusability, right? So okay, so what we will do is, the next step is return statement. I was talking about return statement. Remember this, the why return statement is required. Anything below the return statement in your function, even if you specify any other statements below the return statement, it will not get executed. Because when the interpreter encounters this keyword return, that means it will terminate the function. It will not execute anything below this one. Right? So for that purpose, we will be using the return statement. And also you can return the expressions, and you can return the variable. And if you don't use return any expression or the variable, it will return none. And you have stubs function. In the stubs function, you don't have to use return also. And simply if I print hello, right, it gives me none. That means it is not going to return, because first of all you did not use any return statement here. This is called your stubs function. And also, can I store a function in a list? Yes, that is also possible. You can store a function in a list also. See, that is also another advantage. For example, LFN, L function is equivalent to, in the square bracket, I give square me, comma, and hello. Right, so I can give like this. an LFN of if I give something like 0, and if I give like this, what will happen is 9, square me 9. So yeah, it goes by this one, the default value, right? Square me. So what is LFN square 0? This one will take the first element in your list. The square bracket is nothing but the list. Inside the list, I stored 2 functions. Likewise, you can store multiple functions inside a list. And then, if you want to call a specific function, this we need LFN square bracket 0. This 0 means the index value of this list is, the 0, the index value of this list is square me function. But you need to specify parentheses. You need to execute it, right? And also, if you want to use the second one, LF1 of 1 and square this parenthesis, if you specify, this is not going to return anything because the hello is right. You mention pass, and for example, if I specify like this, now it has to return. Because what's the difference between this typing print here and typing here? Maximum recursion depth exceeded, right? So you cannot 0, 1 also it is not possible. Okay. Here the recursion thing, right? So that confusion is coming into picture here. Okay. So first of all, you tell me if I type print hello from the beginning of this cell, right? So if I type it from here, or if I give the tab here, if I give tab, that means this command is part of this function. But if I type it here, this is no longer part of this function. This is no longer part of this function. See now, but here it is not returning anything. But if I comment it, it returns 9, right? This one gets executed, this one doesn't have any value in it, hence it is not returning anything. But when I used a print hello, one second, print hello is part of my function. It is throwing an error, right? It was throwing an error. Recursion error, right? So what happens is, yeah, you are calling the same function. See, I was talking about 3 types of functions. One is built-in function. The second one is user-defined function. Third one is your anonymous function. And we have something else called recursion function. Right? Within this function, I'm calling the same function. Right? Hence, it is called recursion function. I'll show you what is a recursion function little later. Okay, and ideally, right, I should have shown you there. Yeah, so this is how you can store a value, multiple functions in a list also. And then you can invoke the specific function using the index values. 0 means the first function. The first, the one is the second one, right? Likewise, you can store as many functions as possible in a single list, and you can invoke them like this. Okay, now you understood. And also we can assign a function to a variable, right? So like I showed you here. And now what is the difference between this and this? Here I assigned a function to a variable, and the output of this function gets stored into a variable called square, right? The square obviously will hold the output of this function, which is nothing but 9 here. But here I did not specify parenthesis. That means the square is pointing to this one, okay, this function in the memory. That means this is also a function, okay. Here you can pass the value here. See 9, right? Or if you can see this variable itself became a function, because the address of this function you assign to this variable. That means this is nothing but a function, same as your square me function. Fine, right? So now you understood the difference between these two. When you use the parenthesis, it will call the function, it will execute the function. right, it will execute the function. But when you don't use the parenthesis on the right side, it will not execute it. Rather, it will copy this function's address in the memory. Like when we store the values in a variable, the variables get stored in a memory, right? The values get stored in a memory. But using the x or the variable name, we can use the, roughly speaking, we use the variable x as an address to access the value 3, right? Which is nothing but the x variable is a reference to your value 3 or 4 in your memory, right? So the, right, using some reference value, it accesses the memory. So here square me is a function. I did not execute it. I just assign this function address to this variable. Hence this variable also similar to, because it is pointing to this, it is pointing this function, right? Then it is nothing but it is it became a function now. If I pass 4 or 5, right? So you can assign a value to a variable also. So when it is helpful, right? So you can use something like, right? You can, let's say you have some other variables or some other values written by some other function. That function values you can assign to that variable, and you can add those variables. Okay, so that you will get the final outcome. In real time scenario, we don't use only one function. We will be using nested functions also. We will see what is a nested function a little later. Okay. First you understood, right? So the return statement is to return a value from a function. That is the purpose of this one. So this is the keyword, and the basic HRA loan are called your parameters of your netcell function. The basic HRA loan or variables local to my function netcell. Yes, you cannot use this value outside your function. That is what it says. Okay, I'm sorry, I just pressed some wrong key. So let's take something like this. Where is this one? So here I used prod2, right? If I wanted to see what value is stored in prod2 outside the function, can I see it? Print prod2. You cannot see it because this variable is local to this function. This variable is not available outside this function, right? So we will discuss about the scope of the variables also. LEGB, you have something LEGB rule. I will explain you a little later. Okay, what is LEGB rule? These are the basic thing, right? You would have studied during college time, but still specific to Python, you should be knowing it. Okay. So how to call a function? I just took this function, defined a function as netcell, and inside this function, right? This is my function body. So followed by the parenthesis, right? In the next line, I specified these two set of statements. These two set of statements will get executed when you invoke a function like this netcell. I pass the value, the 100,000 to basic, 22,000 to this one, 5,000 to this one. So these values will get, so inside this function we are performing these arithmetic operations in this case. Okay, so these two statements will get executed, or these two statements forms part of my function's body, my function netcell's body. This is called your function body, and then the final output will be returned using the return statement. So ncell, all I am interested is I want to compute the netcell. So but in order to compute the netcell, I should be knowing the the gross salary minus the loan, which the employee he got some advance payment from the company, and that month's salary, right? Every month the loan amount has to be subtracted. The net sal, right? So the return statement will return this one. So this is called your calling function. This is your called function. So here we passed the original values, actual values. This is called your actual parameters. This is your positional parameters. And also you need to make sure that you need to pass the values in the same way the way how you define your arguments. You need to pass the values when you call the function. You need to follow the order, how you define your function. The first one is basic HRA loan. Can I, when I call this function netSal, can I specify loan amount value? You can specify it, but logically it will be, false, right? It is not correct. But you need to specify in the same order. So basic, you need to specify whatever the basic value here, HRA value, loan. But we have something called keyword arguments. The keyword arguments, you can pass the values in different order. You don't have to pass the value the way how you define your function arguments, right? So in this case, I don't have to specify, this is called keyword. Let us take the same example. For example, def netSal is equivalent to HRA basic HRA. We'll start with simple example and then we will look at the complex one. Okay, netSal, and I'm going to define a variable called gsal. Gsal is equivalent to basic plus HRA. And the next, this is my body of my function. Okay, netSal, and yes, a function nsal is equivalent to gsal. This is minus loan amount. Okay, and I need to return the nsal. See that when I typed return, automatically it became green. The color became green. That means it's a reserved word. It is not a variable. It is a reserved word. Like def, return also a reserved word. Alright, 1 second, let me check. On the safer side, let me check everything is getting recorded. Yeah, it's getting recorded. But fine. So, right, in this case, what I'm going to do is, the function is defined now, and I'm going to netSal, basic is, let's 100,000, and HRA is 10,000, and loan is 5,000. If I execute this, yes, this one will get basic plus HRA. So let's 10,000 minus 5,000 is 5,000. So 1,05,000. Fine. So but I need to pass the values in the same order the way how I defined it here. Basics value supposed to be passed here. Okay, is there any way if I can change the order? Yes, you can change the order. For example, I'm going to say my HRA, sorry, I'm pressing some wrong key here. HRA is equivalent to 10,000, right? So in my loan, or let it be there here, okay, loan is equal to 5,000, here my basic. The values whatever I define, right, HRA, basic and loan, this is called your keyword. Okay, HRA equal, but this one supposed to be same as your function arguments. Okay, so HRA, first I want to pass HRA and then I want to pass basic. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. How? You need to specify the name of the argument directly here. Hence, this is called your keyword argument. So now you can pass in. So HRA value will get passed here, and basic value will get passed here, and the loan value will get assigned here. Okay. Let us see if I give what happens here. And for example, if I give some other name here, what will happen? It says, right, this variable is not available. This argument is not available in your original function, right? So hence you need to make sure that you are giving the same argument name when you call your function. But this makes sense, especially when you are passing 15 variables values, right, as part of your function call. You might tend to see if you pass something like, right, 100,000, 10,000, 5,000, 6,000, 2,000, 8,000, 22.32, right? You might tend to make some mistake by passing the wrong value to a wrong argument, right? So to overcome that, you can specify explicitly like this. HRA is 10,000, so that you are very confident, right? You are very confident. And tomorrow if you make any changes to the functional, suppose you want to add one more parameter here, right? So for example tax. So then you don't have to, if you hard code it, if you do it like this, right, you will again get confused where I should add tax. Again you need to go to the last the variable and you need to assign it. Supposing you are trying to add a new variable in between these two variables, right? So then again you need to go and check manually. It is a painful thing, right? You might tend to make mistake. That's what I'm trying to say. Rather, when you use some meaningful name like this, you will not tend to make any mistakes, right? The correct syntactically it might correct, but semantically it will cause some problem. It will give wrong output if you don't use this way, right? But here the flexibility is you can change, you can specify it in any order also. So that's what I was talking about. Here, can I use the default parameter coupled with the keyword value? Yes, that is also possible. For example, like you said, Arun Kumar, you said, right, here I am going to say the basic is, here itself I am going to say 100,000, right? It's 100,000 and I am not going to specify it here. I am going to remove this. So my basic is a default parameter because in the function definition itself I hard coded it. But we never do it like this because in my company I have 2 lakh employees are there. Not all the employees basic is same, right? Person to person, employee to employee, the basic value will change, right? Just for demonstration purpose, I am just showing you here, okay? So here I used a default parameter. Followed by this, I have used the keyword parameter. Let us see what happens. Non-default argument follows default argument. So which one is a non-default argument? These are the non-default arguments, right? This is the basic is a default argument. Sorry, the basic is the, so non-default argument. One second, let me do one thing. Yeah, it's still missing one required parameter, basic here. Basic plus HRA. The reason is see here itself in the function definition is throwing an error, right? Non-default argument follows default argument. So it should not follow the default argument, right? So instead, I'll just leave it for your, I just share this course, after this code so that you can watch my video and practice it, okay? For example, here I give something like this. How much I specify? 5,000, right? Yeah, 5,000 here. And now, if I pass, sorry. So there is a rule here, okay? You need to follow the rule. You are not supposed to specify the non-default argument followed by the default parameter, but this order you can specify it. Look here, basic HRA, right? So this one, but loan you don't have to pass it here. The last argument supposed to be a default parameter. You cannot use the first argument as a default parameter. Keep that in mind. This is the rule, okay? If I use this, what will happen? Why it is not allowing me? So 100,000 it can allow, right? What is the rationale behind that? And also, let us see if I change the order, does it work? If I change the order, does it work? Still it will work. The rule is the last parameter is supposed to be default parameter. Here only you can assign the default value. Just prior to that you cannot assign it. That is the rule here. That is the syntax, okay? This you need to remember it. But in the case of this one, right, in the case of this one, I'm going to use the same thing, okay, because here I just used only the positional parameter, and here I just use the order same as the way how I defined it here, right? So in this case I'm going to define the default parameter. For example, basic equivalent to 1 lakh, and I'm going to call this function. Since I already passed the assigned the value directly there, will 1 second, see here, non-default argument, the same rule is applicable for the non-keyword argument also. See, first of all, in the function definition itself, it is not accepting, right? It is same as that one, okay. So supposing I defined it, and here, right, so here if I specify loan equal to 5,000, same thing. But only the difference between keyword keyword value argument and the positional argument is, what is the difference? So look here, netSol missing one argument. So 1 second, I did not execute it. Yeah, I did not execute this one. That is the reason why it was not doing it. But only the difference is you can change the order of it if you use keyword value parameter. So here HRA first and then basic. Though your first argument was basic, you can change the order as per your convenience. Okay, as per your convenience you can change it. So with error I leave it as it is, so that you will get to know, right, what error I am going to get. Okay, this is what called as keyword value arguments. Once you define the keyword argument, you must specify the keyword for all the other arguments. That is what he says, but it is not required, right? So okay, this is, in this case it is not applicable. So for this case only I mentioned it here. For example, first one is positional parameter and third one is positional parameter. In the middle I mentioned about HRA. Even in this case also it will throw an error. You cannot have the combination of positional and keyword parameter. But can I do it something like that? For example, yeah, in this case forget about this one, right? So in this case what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this one. Not here, keep the cursor here, click plus to create a new cell, and here here I'm going to say basic equal to 100,000, and let's if I say something like this, or let it be that basic equal to 100,000, HRA is equivalent to 10,000 here. If I say, but if you specify the positional parameter after this one, will it work? Positional argument follows keyword argument. So what you should do is, let this error be there here, and positional parameter you can have it along with the keyword argument. See, this is possible. So these are the tricky question. The interview, they might ask you this one as part of your online test. See, even senior guys, right? Recently one guy joined back with Tiger Analytics. They shared their screen, their company laptop screen. This guy has to go and type the commands, he has to execute until the output, or simply he has to select, say this is the output, this is the output, and the interviewer will be watching whatever he is doing it. Okay, so you cannot refer the net also, you don't have sufficient time, right, to practice it in your laptop and type it there. So now you understood, right? If you wanted to use the keyword argument along with the positional parameter, your positional parameter supposed to be the first one, your positional argument supposed to be, the positional argument value, the original value of the positional argument supposed to be the first one, and rest of them all supposed to be your keyword argument. Okay, can I do it like this? Because the first positional parameter value is this one, I know very well, and the in between I mentioned HRA. This one should go to HRA. Obviously, the remaining value should go to the rest of the variable, right? It will not accept. Positional argument follows keyword argument. Positional argument follows your keyword. So what he says is, you are not supposed to have this positional argument followed by this one. It should be either before this one, or I can have it something like this. I can have two values here. For example, HRA is equal to, and finally the last one supposed to be your keyword. See, it works here. We discussed about all scenarios. Either you can have the first variable or first argument as a positional value, but once you define the rest of them should be your keyword. In between you cannot have keyword. Okay, so here I have keyword and here positional value, right? So it will not accept, it will throw an error. But what you can do is, you define all the positional argument values here and then keyword, that is possible. Now you understood, right? So all these things you need to remember it, and I will, at the end of the session, I will share this script to you all, and you start practice this one. Okay, that is what this statement says. Okay, don't get confused with this one. Okay, you need to specify. Okay, probably I will reword it this one. Okay, so anyone will get, like positional arguments, the number of arguments and parameters still match. Yes, the positional argument, the number of arguments, parameters must still match. Supposing you have defined 3 parameters, okay, but you are passing only 2 values and you are not using any default values here, right? So in this case we don't have any default parameter. If I hard code it here, this is called, the loan is your default parameter. I did not hard code it here, right? So in this case I have to pass 3 parameters at any cost, whether it's a keyword or positional parameter. End of the day, 3 values have to be passed. Again, the rule is, you can have 2 positional parameters. In this case, the last one supposed to be your keyword argument. Okay, you can have the last argument as a keyword value argument. Okay, you can specify something like this. For this you don't have to, but usually this is the practice we follow it. But interview, online test, the multiple choice question, they can give any combination. That's the reason why I showed you everything. Can I call a function using both positional and keyword arguments? You can call, but your keyword argument should be the last one as part of your calling function. That's what we have seen, right? So arguments, in the positional arguments must agree in order and number with the parameters declared in the function definition. Keyword arguments must agree with the declared parameters in number, but they may be specified in arbitrary order. You can specify it in any order. That's what it says, right? But the parameter name should be same as your function definition parameter values. But in the case of positional, the order of passing the values to your function should be same. Default parameters allow some arguments to be omitted when function is called. Okay, you don't have to specify the values for all the things. Okay, and that is the one thing you need to remember. And the next thing is, in function, what we will do is, I will show you how to call a function inside a function. Okay, how to call a function inside a function. And a very simple one. For example, I'll ask you this one, def fn1. This is my function name. Okay, fn1 is my function name. Here I'm going to say print n, simply n. Okay, I define this function. Next I'm going to say fn2. I just start with a simple function, and then let's say I'm going to say n is equivalent to 8. Print n. Okay. And I'm going to say f11. I am going to call this function, this f11, inside the f12 function. Is it possible to call? So, and finally, first let us define these functions. So, two functions I define. The first one is f11, the second one is fn2. So, you can use L function fn2. Yeah, L1 function fn2. Here, if you specify like this, so it will return the value, and then n is not defined, right? So, because fn2 is calls the fn1. fn1, you are using a function. Look here, this variable n is holding the value 8, but the n value 8, right, the value held by n within this function is local to this one, right? So, okay, first let us forget about help and all. If I call fn2, the same error, right? N is not defined. Here the n is not defined. If I say n equal to 10 here, and if I call fn2, can someone tell me what is the output of this one? Okay, supposing, right, you are executing, you are seeing an output something like this. You don't want to see the output. What you do is click on the left side and double click on this one, so that the output will get will be hidden. Okay, if you want to see it again you double click it or single click. Okay, if you click this space, you can see this one. Okay, at this moment I don't want to see this one, so we got an error saying that, see what happens here is I created define two functions fn1 and fn2. So this one supposed to display the value 8, but it did not. When I call the function fn2, it did not print 8. So followed by this, I have another statement. So in this function body, how many statements are there? 3 statements. This function, when I call this function fn2 like this, it has to execute these 3 statements, because these 3 statements forms part of the function 2's body. Whatever the contents are there in the body should get executed. But here what happens is it was throwing an error. What was the error? So it was printing 8, right? Initially it was printing 8, but this function 2, inside this function 2, I am calling this function 1. When I call this one earlier, I did not define any value for the n here, hence it was throwing n is not defined. Look here, the arrow mark, it shows, right? That means where the error occurred. So here also I am using n, here also I am using print n, right? Where the error we are getting it. Okay, this is n equal to 8, because if I call fn2, this function, right, the body of this statement, these set of statements get executed line by line. First this one will get executed, 8 will get stored in a variable called n, and then print n. So print what value stored in n, so 8, and then execute this function. When it calls this function, earlier I did not define any value to this n, right? Hence it was saying that there is no value assigned to this one. See, this value is not get passed here. Okay. Supposing if I use n here, what will happen? N is not satisfied, right? So here fn2, right, and again fn1, look here, n equal to 8, print n, and it got printed fn2, and print n fn, n is not defined. Still, that issue is coming here. So if I assign a value here, what is going to happen here? What is happening here? This variable n is local to this function. That means the value of this variable n, which is nothing but the 8, is not available outside the function 2. It is something like your family, right? So two families, this guy is not available for other family. because this person's income is used to buy this family. Simple, stupid, maybe a stupid analogy, right? This function's salary is used to, this family's salary is used for this family only, right? This family's salary should not be used by other family. So that means this variable n is local to this function, which means this variable value or variable n value is not available outside of this function. That's the reason why it was throwing error. So what I did, I assigned n equal to 10 on top of this one. Now, when I executed the function fn2, what happens? It calls the fn1, right? This n equal to 10 is kind of your global variable. It's kind of your global variable, right? Global variable. So, when it call already in this cell, the entire cell get executed, right? When I executed this one, so when I click n equal to 10 got assigned, and when I click run, the 10 is printed first because this is the one stored in your global variable n. But fn2 we have a local variable 8, but we have overridden this value with 8. So when I print n, right, 8 10. So first 8 and then the third statement fn1. So it will execute this function since we assigned 10 to the variable n. See, the point what you need to note here is this 8 is not going to print here. It's not getting printed because it's a global variable. The next one is, though it is a global variable, it is not it's not been overwritten here. It's been overridden by this value, right? But in this statement I have overridden. For example, let me do one thing. If I, to help you to understand this better, I commented this out, what will happen? What did happen? This n equal to 10 is a global variable, right? So this one is available globally to both the function. So print n, okay, this 10 prints, and here also 10 prints. But if you specify any value explicitly inside this function, right, what will happen is this one will given priority. It's something like in Tamil Nadu, though Tamil people only will be given first priority when it comes to job opportunity, something like this. This guy will take higher priority, this variable n. Now let us define the function and then 8 comma 10. Now you understood, right? This is called your local variable. This is called your global variable. Okay, so to verify this one, let's here I'm going to say n equal to 5. So I'm going to execute this one. Let's see what happens here. So here I just call the fn2 function. This function will get invoked. In this function the value 8 will get assigned to this one. Print 8 will get printed, and the third statement, this one will get executed because the interpreter will execute line by line the statements, right? fn1. So it calls this function. Inside this function I assign the value to the variable n by 5, right, as 5. So print n, it printed 5. Though I defined a global variable, right, it goes by the local variable only while printing it. You need to remember this one. So other thing is, inside this function 2, I call the function 1, nested function. And also you can pass a function as a argument to another function also. Okay, you can pass a function to another function also. That is also possible. And for example, let's take the same example, okay, or not the same example. I'm going to say something like, simple example. I'm going to define a function, okay, simply a, define function, print inside function a, def, okay, I'm going to do something else now, okay, print inside function b, Okay, now what I'm going to do is, so yeah, in this one I'm going to use a return function here. Return b. First we have to do, for the sake of clarity, first let us define the function b. Okay, and how do I invoke this function? How do I execute this function? One second. If I say b, it will get executed, right? So if I specify like this, it will call this function, and whatever the body of this function will get executed, right? So if I type this one inside function b, so this body of the function b is this one, it get executed, it got printed here. When I do something like this, if I give a, what will happen? So what is happening? Inside function a, right, inside function a, and right, inside, so this function, right, if I invoke this function, the body of this function is getting executed. The address of this function, instead of this one, can I say like this, return b function? See, you can return a function also from a function, right? So in the, I defined a new function. Inside the function I call another function or return the function. Calling the function I already showed you, right? I call the function inside this function. But now, is it possible to return a function? Yes, it is possible to return a function. Okay, it is possible to return a function. And what we will do is, can I pass a function as an argument to another function? Is it possible? Yes, I am going to do another example. I am going to define a function called, iterate, something like that, or repeat, something like that. Repeat, fn1 comma or fn3 comma n. Okay, I am going to say here return fn3 of n, and I am going to say we have square me, right? Square me function is there, and what I am going to do is I am going to say out is equivalent to the repeat function. This is a function, repeat is a function. For this I am going to pass a new function, square underscore me, which I already created it, right? Square me, square. I can pass square also because I already assigned square also. But anyhow, square me, comma, 3 if I give. What is the output of this one? 9. What is happening here? The square me here, one second, the square me and for the repeat, right, I am going to pass this function as an argument and n, right? So this square me function will get passed here. The square me function of 3 into 3 is 9. You understood, right, what is happening here? This is how we can call a function from another function, or we can pass a function as an argument to another function. I'll just put a comment here, and I have some complex things other we'll discuss this later. Okay, let's increase the complexity little later. Okay, how to pass a function as an argument to another function. See, I already created a function square me. I want to pass this function as an argument to this function. Along with that, I just pass this, right? So fn of 3 square me. This fn of 3, fn3 is now becomes square me. Within the bracket 3 becomes 3. This one will get the square me function will get executed. 3 into 3 is 9. So this is how you can pass a function as an argument to another function. So here how to return a function from another function. one function to another function, how we can return it. That is what we can see it here. And so that is the beauty of the functional programming. In the functional programming, you can pass a function as an argument to another function, you can assign a function to a variable, and also you can return a function from a function, right? You can return a different function from a function. And let's we discussed about positional argument, key value parameters. Now we are going to discuss variable arguments, variable number of arguments. Sometimes what will happen is when you create a function, you will not be knowing how many number of arguments that are required. So in the case of the salary calculations, we know the basic things, right? Argument like basic, HRA, loan. We know these three parameters are required. But some cases when you define a function, you don't know how many number of arguments you will be getting it later, right? So what we are doing is, for that we have something called star args. So here, for example, for in args, here what I am going to do is sum, okay, something like that. And here what I'm going to do is, let me just first execute this one, and here, or else let me just put it here because I don't want to display for each and everything. The next one is compute. See here I'm going to say 2, 4, 6. Let's see what happens here. Okay, let me do one thing. Yeah, here for in args, right? So this is called your variable arguments, variable number of arguments. Star, you need to prefix with star. You might be seeing in some Python or somebody's program, if you see, right, the function definition, they would have used star in front of the argument, and you might be noticing only one argument, okay. But when you see this one, right, for example here sum equal to 0 for I in args, for each and every value, right? So you take 2, 4, 6, everything, 2 from args, and in sum equal to 0, 0 plus 2 is 2 and then loop, right? Again it will go to the second value and something like that. It will be doing it. The total value is yeah, here I did not I can do one thing. I will return so how many values I passed it? 3 values, right? 3 arguments, 3 parameters, original values, right? Actual, they call it actual parameters. This is actual parameter, this is the positional parameters. So here 2 got passed. See, multiple arguments you can pass. You can pass n number of arguments like this. Look here. So 6 plus 4, 10. 10 plus 8, 18 plus 2, 20, 28. Correct. Right? You can pass n number of. Sometimes you may not be knowing how many number of arguments to your function has to be passed well ahead.
At that time we can use asterisk, right?
Yeah, this asterisk, yeah. I used to say star, yeah, that's correct, asterisk. You can use asterisk. So give me a scenario when we can use it based on your experience. Can someone tell me? When we can use it?
So we can give at the runtime. We don't know how many arguments we have to give. So
Yeah.
usually this type of arguments we can provide at the runtime of the function.
Yes, you can, instead of giving the values like this, right, as you were told, yes, hard coding is not good idea. You store the data in a data frame, right? You are passing the column 1, column 8, column 9, 12, 13 in an Excel sheet, right? Cell 2, cell, let's know, cell C, cell E, and cell F, G, H, something like that you are passing. Different cells you are using, or different columns you are using. You are passing it. So what kind of scenario you can do something like this? Business application. See, in this case, I'm just doing the consolidation, right? I'm just adding all the values. Let's take, for example, you want to compute some kind of offer, right? And in the case of offer, you might be using different parameters based on the number of items purchased by the customer. The customer purchases 5 items, order 5 t-shirts. Those, or buy one, so buy 2, get 1, right? If they buy 2, give one offer, right? And, or something like, or let's say, profit computation. You want to compute the profitability. So profitability based on various parameters. Let's say, each invoice, what is the total value, right? So how much the sale value for for each invoice you are doing it, but the sale value is not sufficient to compute the profitability. You need to, some customers you would have given discount, some customers you would have given offer, some coupon, based on the coupon code, they would have got some, they would have purchased some coupon, or in the past they would purchased more items, we gave some coupon. So you need to discount all this. Tomorrow you are introducing new process. Okay, apart from coupons, apart from the discount and sale offer, let's we are going to give blindly big billion days, right? We are going to give blindly 50% discount on all the mobile, or 30% discount on all the mobile phones. New parameters can come, right? In that case, if you define a function well ahead with the predefined parameters, you need to make a change to your code. Again, you need to add another parameter, right? Like big billion offer. You need to add a new parameter, and you need to subtract that, and then only you can get your profitability. Apart from the discount, see, still the user, they buy whatever the discount we usually give, the normal discount also they are eligible. If the customer purchase volume is so and so, and if they purchased any coupons, right, everything is applicable. In addition to that, those customers will get the big billion day offer also. In that case, oh man, I did not thought about including that parameter. You don't have to worry about it. Simply you can use asterisk before the variable number of arguments. This is called the variable number of arguments. And also I was talking about a function can return multiple values, right? So let's mul function. So you can use this one, return a list. So a list can return more than one value also, right? Using a list you can return more than one value, or for example return hello, comma, you can say some scalar value 100, and list also 2, 4, 6, and if I call mul function, I can return more than one value also from a function. So far I have been showing you, look here, right? In this case it returns only one value, but you can return more than one value also. So now you understood what is variable number of arguments is all about, right? So let me just go here and I will show you something else. Yeah, next one is the NumPy part. I think right, so how to return multiple values from a function, and that also we have seen it here. And what else we have to see? 1 second. And yeah, so yeah, the star args is for non-keyword arguments, right? You can use see, this is not capital A is not the reserved word. You can use whichever name you needed. You can use small a also. Okay, for example sake, I used star args, and this is a non-keyword argument. Supposing you want to use keyword argument, right? How can I use the keyword argument along with the along with the positional argument, variable number of argument? Can I use the keyword argument also? Yes, you can use that one also. For example, you have something called, I'll just followed by this, I'll write it. There we have fun 5. Here I'm going to say, instead of 1 asterisk, I'm going to use double asterisk. Key works. Okay, here also you can use whatever the name that you needed. For example, k comma v in keywords, right? So keywords. Sorry, here are the keywords. Or keyword args, right? So keyword args. So do you remember when I used the items function, the dictionary, right? The dictionary, when I explained you about the dictionary, and those of you did not attend, don't worry. Okay, we will discuss it in the next session. Okay. And here what you do is percentage, the for print formatting, k comma v. Here I'm going to create a function. So what I'm going to do is print, right? That's all. Let's see if this works. Yes, there are no issues. Here what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this function here fun5. You're going to say this fruit, or let's say a person's name, right? First name is Albert, and the last name is Albert, Jason, and family name, right? So which one is the family name is something like Donald, right? So Donald, something like that. You can pass multiple arguments with keyword. First equal to Albert, last equal to Jason, and family equal to Donald. So likewise, you can. So now you understood the keyword arguments also, right? Keyword arguments.
So for that we have to give double asterisk, huh?
Yes, you have to specify double asterisk. Okay.
Okay.
So you need to, in the function definition, you need to use double asterisk, right? So the double asterisk, what it says is you can pass a keyworded variable length argument list. Keyworded variable length argument list. Okay, that is what it says. But what does that single arg says? You can pass a variable number of arguments to your function, but it is not a keyworded. It is a non-keyworded, but it is a variable length argument list. Variable length argument list. It's a variable length argument list. It's a keyworded. It's a keyword. Yeah, I should have mentioned some keyworded variable length argument list. This is okay. Non-keyworded variable number of arguments. So that functionality is also available. Fine. And yes, with this, right, I'm going to wrap up. Now you understood in functions what and all you can do it. We have something called partial function. Probably we'll discuss it later, because I'm getting calls from my office today also. I have some issues. Okay, a lot of messages are coming in. with this, I'm going to wrap up. We started by 6:30, right? Yeah, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30. Ideally, 20 minutes more. We have some more time. But anyhow, we'll start the NumPy, those kind of thing, right? In the next weekend. But I would request you to make some time during the weekday. At least if you let me know, except this Wednesday, right? Rest of the day, if you can let me know, weekday, right? To cover up the gap, right? So we can finish it up quickly. See the current batch, what happened? One second, let me just, I don't want to record all these things.